Hey, it's Wyatt. I've been busy making stuff for an Etsy shop that I want to start because I think it'd be cute to have a little shop and sell stuff. So I've just been working away here. What I'm making is hot pads. And I just finished this one up. Hold on, let me iron it and I'll show you. I'm just gonna finger press this first and give it a little iron. So the top of this one is finished. I just need to trim around the edge, which I'll do later. But when they're all done, they look like this. Aren't they fun? And they have little things so you can hang them if you want. And there's a back. And they're machine quilted. So I thought, why not turn on the camera and show you how I make one? So let's get into it and start over here with this right here. These are just 2.5-inch squares that I've cut and laid out how I want them to look. Okay, pretty simple. So I'm just gonna flip this over here on top of these ones so that our squares are right sides together. And then with a 1/4-inch seam allowance, I'm gonna stitch along this edge of the squares. Okay, and I'm going to chain piece them, which means I put one right in after the other. So let's go over to the sewing machine and do that. Okay, so for me, I'm going to make sure that this seam folds over to the darker fabric so that when you're looking at it, you see that the seam goes this way towards the darker fabric. That's usually the rule in quilting, is that you iron your seams towards the darker fabric. That way it doesn't show through. So I'm just going to give these a finger press, just like this. I'm not going to worry about pressing with the iron quite yet. And then I have to make sure I get these laid out how I want them. Yes, like that. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing. Lay this over this so that they are right sides together and stitch with a 1/4-inch seam down the side. Alright, so let me move this stuff. Here we are at the iron, and I'm just going to give these a press with the iron. My seams are already going the way I want them to, so we're just gonna give it a press with the iron to hold them in place, making sure that it's going towards the dark. And that's important for our nesting seams, and I'll show you why. Okay, so let me put these back in order like this. Now, what a nesting seam means is that when your two seams are put together, they kind of lock in against each other. And when you have two pieces of fabric and you iron it over, you flip it over, you have a little ridge here, right here, you have a little ridge where there's this bulk, so it's raised up a little bit and it creates this ridge. So if your seams all go towards the same fabric, in this case it's going towards my darker one, then my ridge is on this side, it's a little bit raised more on this side, and right here is a little bit more raised as well. So when we put these two seams together, these seams right here are going to lock into each other, and that's what we call nesting. And then that's just important so that when you sew this seam right here, which we're going to do next, and you open it up, then you make sure that these two have a really nice looking point right there, where it's not over this way or over this way too much. Does that make sense? So I'm going to take this over to the machine, and I'll show you real quick what I'm going to do. Let me open this up. So I sewed my squares into rows, and now I'm going to sew my rows together. So I'm just going to take this top row, flip it over, sew a 1/4-inch seam, press it, fold this one over, sew a 1/4-inch seam, and press it, and then we'll have a little 9 patch here. Okay, so let's go to the sewing machine and do that. I got my 9 patch all stitched up. It's called a 9 patch because it's 1, 2, 3 by 3. So it's a 9 patch. And you can see that my points nested really well, actually. I'm really happy with them. And yeah, so that part is done. The next part is that you will cut a 5.5-inch square and then take your rotary cutter and just cut it down the diagonal with your ruler, down the diagonal, to get 2 triangles. Now, when we sew these on, we need to be careful because these are cut on the bias, which means they can stretch a little bit. We don't want them to stretch. So as we're sewing them on, we need to make sure we're very careful not to pull or stretch them at all. And what I'm going to do is I need to find the middle of this 9 patch. So I'm just going to fold it in half. And with my fingernail, just make a little crease right there. And I'm going to do the same with this triangle. Make a little crease. You'll need 2 squares cut at 5.5 and then cut them diagonally to give you 4 triangles. Then you just line up those 2 creases that you made, and I like to put a little pin in so that I know when I'm sewing it's not going to move, and keep that right there. And then I'm going to stitch 1/4 of an inch down this side. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one on this side, and then I'll meet you back at the iron. Okay, I have these 2 triangles sewn on either side. So to iron it, we have to be careful again not to stretch it. So I'm going to set my seam. Setting your seam means you just put the iron on like this and give those threads and fabric a chance to relax before you do anything else. It's a good habit to get into. Is it really necessary? I don't know, but just it's a good habit to get into. Okay, I'm just going to gently finger press this over. I don't want to stretch it at all. So I'm going to be very, very careful, and then just go over it and give it a little press with my iron. And then the same thing on the other side. Set your seams because it's what people tell us we should do. Gently finger press this over so it doesn't stretch and just store its shape. And then gently press it down with the iron. Now we have these little dog ears hanging out here. That's what these are called. And you could definitely take your rotary cutter and your ruler and cut them off this way. But for the sake of filming and not having to move my camera, I'm just going to do it with scissors and just cut them off like so. Two more. Last one. Awesome. Okay, now I just need to put on the other 2 triangles, doing the exact same thing, finding the middle and lining them up, and then you'll notice that they hang over the edge a little bit on each side. You can see that it hangs over. It doesn't line up perfectly, and that's good. That's what we need so that when we fold it and it's done sewing, we'll have room to trim it around all the way. So I'm going to go do those, and I'll meet you probably back here to iron. Okay, round 2 done. All right, same thing. Set my seam, gently finger press it over, and then get it with the iron. Other side. Set my seam to follow the rules of the quilt police. And finger press. And there we go. That's the top of our hot pad done. It's cute. We need to take it over to the cutting mat and trim it. That's why I'm not going to worry about cutting off these dog ears now, because when we square it up and give it a little trim, they'll come off. So let's go over there. Now, I understand that there's probably 9,000,001 different ways to square up a block, but this is what I've been doing. So I've been using this ruler, and I've just been using this line on this ruler to go across this point right here to give me some kind of landmark. So I go like that. then this line right here is my 1/4 inch line, and I want my point right here to be on this side of that 1/4 inch line so that I know when I sew it all the way around, I will not lose that point. Is this the most accurate way? Probably not. But does it work, and is it cute in the end? Yes. So I do that. Then I just flip it again. And line this up here, making sure that my point is on this side of the 1/4 inch. So now that we have the top of our hot pad done, we're ready to go on to the next step. Now this is where things get a little more intense, not more difficult, just a little more intense. And we have to think and go a little bit slower. Okay, so I have my front, and then this piece here is going to be my back. It's just a 10-inch square. Okay, so what I'm going to do is lay these wrong sides together. And I'm going to put this in one corner. You know what? I'm going to put it in the middle. Scratch that. I'm going to put it in the middle and then trim all the way around with my rotary cutter so that they're the exact same size. Do I have a rotating mat? Yes. Did I use that rotating mat to cut this? No. But that's just how it rolls sometimes. Okay, so those are trimmed and ready to go. I'm going to set those aside. The next thing I need to do is cut the tab that I'll use so that the hot pad can hang in your kitchen if you'd like it to hang, or you could hang it on the wall. It's a cute little decoration. I don't know, to each their own. But for that, I need a piece that is 2 by 5. So I'm going to, maneuver this around. There's my 5-inch line. And there is my 2-inch line right there. I'm just gonna cut me off a little piece, like so. Okay, easy. Next piece done. Now, so that your little fingers don't get burned, because that would be very tragic, wouldn't it? I have this insulated batting. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the back, where I'm going to lay this on the top of here and just trim it to the same size. Things are a little more complicated here in my room on my tiny desk, but we make it work. I'm gonna stand up for this. We're getting intense. Now, we just need one more thing. So, the instructions for this, oh, I have a needle. That's exciting. The instructions for this insulated batting recommends that you put another layer of batting over the top of the foil side. So, I have this, it was a moving blanket when I moved it from, you can see it's a little U-Haul moving blanket, but it's the perfect batting, at least in my opinion, and I had it, and it was free, and I didn't have to buy anything else. So, that's what I'm using, and the hot pads. And I'm going to make sure that this plastic side is touching this so that it doesn't melt onto the fabric by chance. And then this piece is cut 1/4 of an inch smaller than my hot pad because I don't want these two pieces all in the bulk of a seam and then try to turn it. I think it would be way too much. So this is just going to be on the inside like this, and then that way it's out of the way for the seam when I sew it, and we shouldn't have any issues. So I'm going to put some pins in this on the tinfoil side just to hold it in place while we're sewing, and it won't move like that. Okay, now stay with me. This piece has to go on the back. We're gonna put our hot pad and the back of our hot pad right sides together. Okay, and it goes this way. Perfect. I don't think it's exactly square. I think it's a little more rectangle than square. But, so, just be careful when you lay it out. And I'm just remembering, I need to make my tab. So my little piece that was the 2 inches by 5, I'm just going to fold it in half, right sides together, stitch it up, and then flip it inside out. Okay? I'll show you. I'll just do it with you. Okay. Hold that there. Ugh. And of course, my needle came unthreaded. Hold on, I'll be with you in a second. Now I have that tab done, we can keep going. So I'm gonna put it in the corner. I'm gonna fold this back. These are my 2 pieces, right sides together. Okay, I'm gonna fold that back. And then I have these smaller pins. And I'm gonna put it with the seam side down. And I'm gonna put it on either side of this corner if I can pick up my pin. Stick a pin in there. I don't like that pin. Let's do this one. Stick my pin in there like that. Fold this over. Put it on the other side. Grab a pin that I like. Whoa. Gotta get all the layers there. Okay. Lay that down. Gonna stick a pin in there. And a pin in here. One here. And one more in the other corner. Okay, now how this works, I don't know, it's quilting magic, but this goes down. Then these two go on top of it. And this is a task for the clips. So, what I do, let me fix my chair. Okay. So, I'm gonna make sure that this lines up how it needs to go, and that is it. And then I'm gonna come in here with my clips and clip it down. And I'm just gonna clip it all the way around. Okay, I tried to find an angle that would be the best for you to watch me to sew this. So. Anyway, hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing here, but all I'm going to do is just stitch around the edge, 1/4 of an inch, making sure to leave an opening to turn it right side out. So, let's go. as I'm sewing, I can see the camera bouncing up and down, and as someone watching this video, that would absolutely drive me bonkers. So let me readjust the camera so that it's off of my table. That way when I'm sewing, it's not bouncing. Okay, hold on, be back. Alright, so I have that stitched up, and it's stitched up pretty nicely. So I'm going to take out these pins. And snip the thread here where I left my opening. Now when you reach in, it can be confusing. Oh, and remember we pinned the little extra batting layer in? I'm going to pull those pins out because they will get in the way when we try to turn it right side out. When we drop that pin, awkward. Sad. Hold on. Well, that's misfortunate. Hold on, I'll find it in a second. Let me get this other one out. It can be a little awkward, but it works. I promise. Or at least I've made it work, but I've made a lot of these so far, so I kind of have a system down of how I do it. Little pin. Where are you? Right there. Haha. Got you, little dude. No. This pin does not want to leave. Okay. Sorry about that little mishap. Now, when we go to flip it, we need to make sure that we go in between the top and the back layer and not anything to do with the insulated lining. Okay, so I'm just going to reach in here to the opposite corner. I try to do my hole on the opposite corner from my tab because I can grab onto it and then use that to help me pull and turn it right side out. Okay, I'm getting my little press tool. I'm going to reach in here and press my corners out good. There we go. Just going to kind of roll those seams so that they lay nice. And then I'm going to give it an iron. As I'm at the iron, I'm going to fold this under, fold these two under so that they meet, like that, and then I will hand stitch that close. But let's iron it first. Give it a good press. Okay, so I'm gonna mix things up on you again. At the same time I'm filming this video, my mom is also working on hot pads. She agreed to help me make hot pads under the terms that I make her lemon blueberry scones at some point, so I agreed to those terms. And she's helping me sew these so that I can have some to post in my Etsy shop. So she actually just got the hand stitching done on this one. And so she took the one that I was working on to do the hand stitching on, and I'm going to do the top stitching on this one, which is the final step. So because this has green on the back and kind of a creamy front, I changed the thread in my machine. So the top thread is going to be a cream, and then my bobbin thread is a green to match the back. And I'm just going to go around and top stitch this. I'll try to find the best camera angle for you so that you can see what I'm doing. But basically I'm just going to be doing like stitching in the ditch, which is just going right along the seam line or just like inside the seam line, I'll show you. But I'm going to go around this and top stitch it. Alright, I got the top stitching on this hot pad done, and I think it's really handsome. It is. It's really handsome. I think they're the perfect size. They're flexible. They're great. They can be great hot pads, pot holders, anything like that. Just note that they can't go in the microwave. I've never put a hot pad in the microwave, but maybe people do. But because it has that like tinfoil on the lining, it cannot go in the microwave. So you've been warned. But here's some of the other ones that my mom and I have done. I'll just show you real quick. There's this one, and this is the back. And then there's this one, and there's this back. I think they're really cute. The perfect size, easy to handle, easy to use. So yeah, there they are. But unfortunately, by the time that this video is posted, my Etsy shop will not be up and running yet, so stay tuned. I'll be sure to send out an announcement or do another video when my Etsy is up and going, but for now, just stay tuned. I'm going to keep making hot pads. I'm making other things as well to go in the shop, so it's going to be really fun, really cute, and yeah, bye for now, and I'll see you soon.